Welcome to the Insurance Wise Guys podcast. My name is Mike Lewis, insurance agency owner of Archibald & Lewis Insurance, and your Insurance Wise Guy. On today's episode of Know, Like, and Trust, we have Geoff Horner of Genesis Pest Services. Everyone help me welcome a man who knows no fear, a man not afraid of what lurks under your house or what lives in the attic. This man has seen, caught, and killed it all. Everyone help me welcome Geoff Horner of Genesis Pest Services. Geoff, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, you just got back from a vacation too?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just get away for a little bit and now we're ready to go again.
Ready to get back at it. Okay, so let's talk to me first about what you were doing before Genesis Pest Services.
Before I was a youth pastor here in town at First Reformed Church, and we actually had some pest issues, actually with bats, and so that made me think that I wanted to get back into doing pest control again.
Okay.
So I was a youth pastor, and as all churches have, we've got issues and stuff like that with pests, so. Yeah.
Bats in the belfry, right?
Yep. I always hear those, especially in youth group, I always hear those stories of, oh yeah, we went after the bat, it came out in the middle, at night when we were there, and so we always had to go after it. So we had our stories, so.
So as a youth pastor, then starting with that, you had your own problems there. Is that how you would say you started in the pest business?
That's
to start?
Yeah, well, to start, I in junior high, I was on the entomology team, which is known as the bug team for 4-H and FFA, and so I was identifying bugs, and we would go to the state every year of Indiana. And finally, my senior year, I started when I was seventh grader, and then I was on until my senior year in high school, and I got 5th in the state of identifying bugs. And so our team, then you get by individual, and you also get by team, and our team got 2nd in the state. So eventually, it took me quite a few years, but I was able to recognize bugs just by looking at them in this little square thing. They were dead, but they were the specimens of them, so you had to look real close at them, and then you had quizzes you had to do too, so you had to know a little bit about them.
Yeah. So that's how you first developed even the thought that, hey, I might like this.
Yeah, it was fun because we got to go to Purdue University and all that stuff and run around and have the contest was there, and we would go throughout the year to different places and do tests and stuff like that. And so after college then, or after high school, then I went on to college. Didn't think anything else of bugs. Didn't think I'd make it a career or anything. Just thought, hey, that was fun. And it was kind of weird, but it was cool. And for some of us anyway. So, and then I got in, I was always a golfer. So I was into playing golf and all that stuff. And then after I realized I wasn't going to be a golf course superintendent, I kind of went back to the bugs and then realized, hey, there is an actual job here.
So you went to work for someone else?
Yeah, I worked for McLeod's, which is based down in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And so I did all commercial there. So I would go I was over in Bungie, up on top of the silos. I was down in the tunnels. I was everywhere in that place. I caught tons of mice and rats. I bet. Stuff. So, and then I also did a bunch of other warehouses and stuff like that.
So that was based in Indy?
Yeah, but I had northern Indiana.
Okay.
So I would travel all the way up to South Bend, and I would come all the way down to about Marion area, and then all the way to the Ohio border. So. And
how long did you work there?
There for about a year and a half. So, and then I ended up few job changes, and then I ended up working at Rose Pest Solutions in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And then there is when I did, again, mostly commercial. And so I loved it, but it was just our branch got moved from Fort Wayne to Mishawaka. So.
Okay. So Rose was the last spot that you worked for someone else before?
Yeah, well, I was going to work for Terminex. I was going to be a salesperson in Fort Wayne. They didn't have a Fort Wayne branch yet, but they wanted me and this other guy to grow it. And so I was planning on doing that, but then after about 3 months, they said, yeah, we're not doing that now, so we're going to move you to Mishawaka. And I said, no, thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I like to stay around here. They didn't think there'd be enough business around here, they said. So I just went off on my own then.
Okay, so that's when you made the decision, hey, if I can't do that with you, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then just made the jump and I haven't looked back. So
that was probably a tough jump, though, right? I mean, you have a guaranteed job or paycheck at that point. You've got opportunities there. Tell me about when you first made that jump. I mean, to not have a client base at that point,
yeah.
or
I mean, I'd always have, even when I was doing other things, I would still help people out with bug stuff. I couldn't spray and charge and all that stuff, but I would help them identify the bugs and let them know who to contact. So I already knew some people who had issues and that they would come to me anyway.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry, like my license ran out, because you have to be licensed in Indiana to do it.
You do.
Yeah, and so I've got all my license and insurance and all that stuff. So, so I knew there was people out there that were wanting help, and I saw what the big companies would offer as far as, they had overhead, they had, all their trucks, they had the salesperson, they had a tech, they had all this that they had to build into their price. And I'm thinking, I just have my chemicals, me, and my truck. I mean, I don't have an office. My office is my truck. So why not just, start from there and,
So, I mean, you can really offer someone a better service for less money because of that, then.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find yourself doing, you came from more of a commercial background, do you find yourself doing more residential now, or is it
a lot more residential? Commercial, it's, I understand how it works and stuff, but yet, and it's pretty much a cookie cutter kind of thing for the most part. Like, this is what you do, you go in, you do this, do this, do this. Whereas residential, you run into a lot more problems, like issues. So I like the problems, issues one, but I do still do a lot of commercial too, but more residential right now.
So talk to me about the name Genesis. How did you come up with that?
Well, it's funny because at first I picked a name and I researched it and was like, all right, so there is another, it's called Apex. And so there was another Apex that I saw, and it was way on the West Coast area. And so I went ahead and got the domain name, website, all that stuff, applied for it. And I don't know, for some reason I decided to check one more time. There's an Apex on the north side of Fort Wayne.
Okay.
So I'm glad I did.
Too close.
Yeah, too close. And so I'm like, okay, well, I won't win that. So, because I've been in business for, I think, a year. So then I went ahead and I was just thinking, what other name? And Genesis just kind of came up because, being a youth pastor, and, the other reason I really wanted to start my own business was so I can give back. Because, you see all the profits coming in, and I want to make sure I can give back to the community too. So, so Genesis is just kind of like the beginning, and it's, I want to do it to where I enjoy being around insects and bugs and rodents and snakes and all that stuff, and I want to do it humanely, not just go in and wipe them out. If there's some way to save them in a way, then I want to be able to do that. So Genesis just kind of fit for all that stuff. So
Genesis in the beginning, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So I've heard that you love mice. And and I'm going to say that I have never heard anyone say that before or heard that before. So tell me about that. What comes with that? Why would you utter that statement that you love mice?
I don't know. It started when I was with McLeod's, and I would go to warehouses, and then I would go to, especially over at Bungie in Decatur. I'd be killing a lot of mice, and I soon learned how they moved and how they thought and where they were at. I just studied them a lot, and I realized I actually kind of enjoyed it. I don't know why, but I get all these nicknames like, Mouse Boy or Cat Boy or Cat Man, or, that's what all the workers would call me when they'd see me come in, so I'm kind of like, hey, there's something here. Maybe we can go with this. And so I love to help people, with mice issues. So, because, again, they are, certain, they are alive, so they do, and they have their own minds, so they do change stuff. So you always have to be aware of that. But, I've figured out, where to place traps and how to catch them. And I love it when they don't take the bait, and then I got to try to be creative.
Figure out, build a better mousetrap. Yeah, I like that. Catman do. So let's talk specifically about a few different pests that people currently have that they would call you for help. So let's start with mice, for instance. I mean, why would somebody call you when they have a mouse problem, and I'm talking more of a residential, not a large commercial or a corporation. I understand that more, but why would someone call you? What situation? Why wouldn't they set their own trap, or why would they call you?
Yeah, because a lot of homeowners, they really don't understand. Like, they might think they have one or two mice because they just see, in this one little area. Well, over the years, I've realized you have a lot more than one or two. So I don't know if you want to hear that, but but there are more out there. So they might be happy when they catch one or two, but then what happens is these other mice, they can learn off of the other mice who are now gone and dead. And so then whatever's in the trap, they'll be like, I'm not going after that. They're called trap shy. And so then we got to get them used to the trap again. And, and I won't give any trade secrets here, but get them used to the trap. And then after a while, you can trap them again. And they might even thought they didn't have any, because you really don't see them other than, when they're active at night or whatever. Or if they're chewing stuff up, then you might see that. But
okay, so definitely a reason. Let's go to something else. Bats. You talked about bats at the church that got you going. Bats are something that I don't think too many people want to get involved with at all. But again, what are you looking for on a bat situation? Or again, what throw out a tip for me. What someone would do to stop a bat problem?
Yeah. Well, the best thing to do, whether you think you have bats or not, is to do what we call a bat watch. And so you go at night, or right before the sun goes down, and you can watch them come in and out. And so, most homeowners don't want to see that, but if you want to know if you have any bats, that's the best time to go out. And again, we want to make sure that bats, they're all endangered that we have around here. And so
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so we don't really want to kill them because they're beneficial. So, because they eat insects and mosquitoes and, all that type of stuff. And like, I have a couple bats at my house that they're not inside, they're outside, of course. So, but I know they're there, and I see them at night flying around, and I know they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so, the best way to do that is we just exclude them from the actual building, and so they can't get back in.
I see.
And so they just move off, hopefully
so
safer.
The tip there, or what you're doing for folks, is actually watching them come out, seeing where they're getting in and out of their house, and then plugging a hole. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, and we have what we call bat cones that you stick on there. They're plastic tubes to where bats come out, but they can't go back in.
Interesting. Okay.
Because actually bats, when they go to fly, they actually kind of have to drop. And so that's why it looks like they're coming at you, but they're really not necessarily coming. They might be, but majority of the time that's just, they kind of fly like that. So
I've seen in people's attics before, you'll see a big pile of poop, and you almost think it's a mouse, but that's a bat when it's all together.
Yeah, and it's kind of metallic-y, it's shiny.
Okay.
And so it can be because that's insects that they've eaten and digested.
Yeah, so that's
all
how
the
you
cool
know.
Fun stuff. So.
Okay, so let's go on to another big problem that I see people have that, again, that they do not want to touch at all, is bees.
Oh, yeah.
I understand you have a full hazmat suit that you can go after bees.
I've got the whole bee suit, and I don't always wear it because sometimes, it's kind of restrictive in a way, but yet, so if I need to get in tight places to get them, then I won't always wear it if I know, like I've had tons of bee calls recently for yellow jackets.
Yeah, murder hornets probably too.
Oh, lots of those. I hope I never see any of those. So, but I use dust, and so I'll go in, and sometimes it takes a couple trips to get them. But I like to use the dust because then they take it back to the nest, and I don't need to know where the nest is, and I don't need to tear up the house or the vinyl siding.
I see.
Or anything.
So they're taking it back to No, what about the people, bees-wise, that some, and I don't know the difference here, but why some people want to keep bees?
Yeah, the honeybees. Yeah, I don't mess with those. It's only the yellow jackets and like the bald-faced hornets and wasps. I do that stuff, but I don't do the honeybee. I would call like a beekeeper,
a beehive person.
Yeah, and they can come in and remove that. I don't know how to do that, and so I've made contacts with some beekeepers that if I see it's a honeybee, again, I don't want to. It goes back to Genesis. I don't want to hurt any insects unless they, pose a threat to us. And if they pose a threat by yellow jackets coming in the house, I was just at a house that had, a couple hundred of them, after I got down there laying in the basement dead.
So sometimes you have to kill them.
Yeah.
I mean they're a danger to
Yeah.
the people or whatnot. So that sometimes you don't have a choice. That's just like any war, I guess.
Yep.
You have to go after that.
It's like if they would be out in the woods, hey, they'd be perfectly fine or whatever. We won't mess with them. But when they start moving into our habitat, sorry, but
I get it. Okay.
don't want to get stung,
So now, what happens when someone calls you and says, "Hey, there is an animal under my house. I don't know what it is, but it's big. I can hear it." Is that something that you take care of?
I can do that. I've got my wildlife nuisance license. But it depends on what it is.
Sure.
I've gone after snakes before. I hate snakes. So let's just say this. I face my fears every day. I hate snakes. I hate stinging insects, but I get called on them all the time. So you just kind of have to go, okay, let's go do this. And I kind of know how to trap, but that's not really my specialty. I would call, someone else to help with that if I realize it's something bigger than what I can, handle. So, but yeah.
So I have seen people that get squirrels inside their house or their attic, and that's something that you can come in and set a live trap for.
I can do that, yeah.
I have heard that you just can't let it go anywhere, though.
No, you can't. You have to let it go in the same county you caught it, or you have to kill it.
Okay.
So, because if you relocate it, so far it can come back too.
So you can right, yeah. So it would know where it was and want to come right back. So you can just drive down the road and let it out, or
no, you have to have permission from wherever you let it go. So if there's a woods, like I've got some people that if I catch anything in Wells County, I know I can go talk to them, like for raccoons and whatever, and they've got a bunch of acres that they're like, hey, let it loose in the woods back in there, and so I know, and it'll be safe back in there then for it. But again, then it poses a question, because you have to take all this into consideration, is now you've introduced another animal into where they've already kind of developed their areas, and so now are you putting this animal back in another dangerous environment?
Is it at risk?
Yeah. So it'd be at risk to maybe the other animals would kill it. You don't know. So that's something you always have to think about when you're doing it, and make sure, of course, the animal's not sick. It doesn't have rabies, or generally they don't, but you still have to worry about that stuff. So
yeah, that's got to be a concern of yours, honestly.
But the best way to do it again is exclusion. So especially like after you've trapped the animal, then the big thing is where did this thing come in? Because if you don't fix it, the next time
it's going to come right back. It's going to come right back in.
It'll be another one, that'll take its place, that will just come right in and be like, hey, this is perfect. Right
so that's part of your job too. Then is not only getting rid of it, but actually helping that homeowner or that business determine how'd they get here in the first place.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part sometimes, because the animals, some of them, like mice only need a dime size hole. Rat needs like a quarter size hole. All they gotta do is fit their skull in there, and once they do, their body can just flatten and all over the place. So they can just squeeze right in, and raccoons, they don't even need that big of a room. They can just squeeze their bodies right in through stuff too. So
yeah, I would be concerned about that. So tell me the craziest thing you've ever been called out for, or that you've caught, something odd.
Well, this happened this spring a couple times. I've been called out for snakes. And I hate snakes. Like I'm almost petrified of them.
Yeah.
Like I just don't like them. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll be there. Well, this was in this lady's
I'll
living
be
room.
there.
This was in this lady's living room.
The snake was in her house?
The snake was in her house. So she called me, and I'm not going to say names because I don't know who would see this. But,
right.
And so I was like, all right, I'll be right over there. And this is before I got into having the right equipment. So here was this 4.5 foot, and it was a black water snake. And so luckily there was another guy there who was able to stand on the tail, so I can grab behind the head, and I'm like shaking because I'm just like, this is not going to be fun. He's going to try to bite me. And so without thinking, I tried to put the head in first in the bag instead of the tail in first, because I was panicking. And then came back and he bit me on the hand, but luckily I was wearing gloves.
Okay.
So he didn't bite me, but it was just like, oh my gosh, you just bit me. And
Wow.
so then I had to readjust and then do it again, and I did it right, and we finally got him. But of course, nobody would take him. Like, I went to that county and so I had to kill him. But it's a shame to do that, but that's kind of what you had to do. So and it was, again, endangering this family. It was in their
absolutely
living room, like curled up in the corner. Like,
sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you're a hitman, I guess.
Yep. And the bees, I know, definitely feel that way, because they'll be attacking me when I'm not even around anything.
Yeah.
Like, I think they know. Like, they spread the word.
He's coming.
Yeah, like, hey, if you see this truck or this person, go after him.
So another thing that people would be concerned about, and maybe they have a mouse problem, or they have a raccoon trapped in their attic, but they don't want to call you because they think it's way too expensive. They don't even want to go there. So tell me just a ballpark. What's a call out fee, or what does it cost to trap an animal or a snake or something like that?
Yeah, for the animals, and like, to trap them, it's like $200, $300. Again, it depends on where they're at, how many they're at, how many of them are there, because you might not realize there might be a family living in there.
Right.
And that's the big thing, is we don't want to separate the mama from the babies.
You need to get them all.
Yeah, so we need to get them all. So that would be more expensive, because it would take more time, more traps, all that type of stuff. So.
Is there a call out fee for something else? Like, hey, I think I have a mouse problem, or are you talking that's pretty much a standard, a pest person, you're going to pay maybe $200 for my service to start?
Yeah, $200 is where I generally start for mice, especially. And I'll come out, for free, just to kind of look if they think they do, and then, or if they want tips on, because sometimes you get the, do it your own selfers, they want to do it themselves. And so I would charge, like $75 to come out and tell them
an evaluation.
Like, they're coming in through here, through there, and so since I've done it a lot, I know what to look for.
And I think that's a great service right there, because sometimes there are a lot of do-it-yourselfers that want to take the time to do that because they didn't want to spend extra money, and I think that's fantastic. Now, you do spraying as well, right? Like a routine spraying when people have, I know I've been out, we're getting to the season in October when you go outside and there's just spiders flying through the air, or you look on the side of the house and there's 1,000 spiders. I mean, that's kind of scary. What can be done about that? Anything?
I offer quarterly sprays, and so that runs right at 100, depending on the size of the house. It starts at 100 and goes up to 125 roughly. So I just spray around the outside. I also knock down all the cobwebs, and I use dust behind the vinyl siding. And so then that way, the spiders and stuff that I don't see, the bugs I don't see, the dust will get them and it'll stick to them, and it'll go from there. And that's the other thing too. I was scared of spiders to begin with. Yeah. Now they don't bother me. So,
well, you're an elite breed then.
Well, it's funny. The first time I ever did it, I was spraying around this person's house. This was a long, long time ago. And spiders would literally, because the stuff I used, like, it burns them. And so they were jumping on me to get away from the spray, and I about lost it. But then, ever since then, it's like, okay, whatever. So, but, again, I don't like killing spiders because they're beneficial. But yet, when they're in someone's house and then they crawl in, and, I've heard times where people get spider bites. Spiders will come at night, don't mean to scare anybody, and they'll bite you, and you think you have bed bugs, but really what it is spiders. And so, I've been called out for that, thinking it's bed bugs, and I go out there and I'm like, no, it's spiders.
So you talk about bed bugs. Is that something that you can help people with too? Bed bugs? Yeah. Because I know that's a problem, and that's a problem that some people don't want to talk about. They get embarrassed that I have bed bugs, but
and nowadays they're everywhere. So you stay in a hotel, like our hotels that we stayed at for vacation freaked me out, and I'm in there doing my bed bug check every time we stayed at a hotel. I'm checking the bed, I'm checking behind the pictures, I'm checking behind that, and I never saw any. Thank goodness. Or if I did, it would be like, nope. Yeah, the kids know they don't unpack their bags. They keep it right there on the ground, and they're like, all right, Dad, check. Yeah. And then I do my check. I'm like, okay, we're good.
I need to take you on vacation with me then too.
Well, and see, we've seen bed bugs in like multi-million-dollar houses.
Sure.
They're bed bugs, and so it's just not. It shouldn't be a stigma, it doesn't mean you're dirty. It doesn't mean anything like that anymore, like it used to.
Yeah, it used to. Yeah, and then people get embarrassed by that.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it.
It just means you were someplace that someone had a bed bug, and I've gone so far into it that you can really scare yourself, because if you think about it, any place another person has been and they sit down, well, who's to say if they had bed bugs, they don't crawl in a chair like I'm sitting in right now, and then I know, see this, like you can go way deep on this, and then they crawl on you and you don't know it, and then you bring it home, and that's my biggest fear, is I'm going to bring them home.
Yes.
But of course I know how to treat them, but I try to take all the precautions. So
yeah.
So it shouldn't be a stigma of bed bugs being like this dirty thing. It should just be like, well, we have to deal with them now. So
it gets scary though. But tell people how to get a hold of you.
You can call me on my cell phone or text me. I do text almost better than I do calls. At 260-227-0742. Or you can go to genesispestservices.com. I've got a webpage there that you can fill out information.
Okay.
So, or on Facebook, or all that stuff.
Finding you, Geoff Horner, Genesis Pest Services, winning the war on pests.
That's right.